Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my LP run for the game Kirby Super Star for the SNES. And in today's part, we're going to be resuming with the level Hot Beat, which is part of the Milkyway Wishes game. I just decimated that little sleeping guy over there. This is a really difficult stage, actually, because there's a lot of this fire hazard magma stuff. It's littered all over this area. It's not easy navigating through here for sure. What'll do will ambush you if you don't get out of the way really quickly. You want to grab the invincibility here because that's the only way to get this special ability here in this stage. Usually you'll see a bunch of the enemies that you'll be getting the power up for. That's an indication for what you're going to be getting inside the door. This part's kind of annoying actually because the fire just really spreads very quickly through this stage and it's difficult to avoid in some cases, so just take your time going through there, and once you get about halfway through you'll want to get out of this cart because the lava's going to destroy it. Now don't get into that cart right away. Instead you want to switch to the fighter ability or something that has an upward attack. Just gotta get this guy out of the way so I don't have to deal with him. He's kind of a pain. And now we want to destroy these blocks up here, which is going to lead to another ability. This is an easily overlooked one actually. Then we just have to do battle with Bugsy. Bugsy's pretty easy once you figure out his patterns. I actually haven't been using the helper too much in this LP. More convenient not to use him, probably. Bugsy, the wrestling ability that he leaves behind is a fairly nice one actually in some cases. It looks cool, but it's not particularly useful because it doesn't have any kind of projectile attack and can get Kirby into a lot of trouble in a stage like this where there's so many hazards. It's something you only use once in a while at best. I will also admit that Hot Beat is probably my least favorite of all of these planets to go to just because of how hazard heavy it is. Take your time going through here because this part is very easy to run into that magma, and prefer not to do that obviously. So if you feel gutsy, you can go for the mustard down there and the 1-up. You don't have to. If you're not comfortable navigating around the lava, I wouldn't recommend doing it, but I just got burned there unfortunately, so I grabbed the mustard. And then I got hit again, so like I said, it's easy to do that in this level. Just take your time going through here. And then the part coming up actually reminds me a little bit of Donkey Kong because we have all these barrels or rockets or whatever they are that we're going to be navigating through. It reminds me of some of those Donkey Kong stages in the snow from the original game. If you played the original game, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now we have another showdown with this fish. I don't know what its name is. Just really give this guy his distance because he's rather difficult to beat if you get in close proximity with him. He does turn invisible, which is another thing to be aware of. He's still visible, but he's not as easy to see, so just take your time with him. And we've beaten Hot Beat now. We'll be moving on to the last two planets after this. I think a lot of these planets look kind of strange with their overworld design, you know. This one kind of looks like a giant grill with a city on top of it or something like that. Regardless, this planet plays very similarly to the Meta Knight stages that we played a few games ago. The layout for this level is pretty much the same type of thing, and the only difference, of course, being now that you can't take the enemy's abilities, so... but we have so many at this point that doesn't really matter too much. Grab the invincibility here and you can get across those spikes, which will enable us to get the next ability that we need. And I just use the wing ability here because it's easier to get across that area. The wind is actually pushing you back there. So from seeing all these gems here, we can guess what the ability is going to be. Yep, it's the yo-yo one. Then you can use the wing ability to destroy that little block area, and I think there's a few health items up there. I'm not sure if there's anything particularly important. No, there's not. Just a few health items. You don't really need to bother with that, actually. That's one of the rare times, actually, where the ability that I had, I just saw an enemy immediately afterward with that same ability. It's pretty easy if you have the yo-yo or any kind of projectile weapon. Now for this upcoming part, you're going to have a series of crossroads where you can basically get off and fight bosses, but there's only two of them you actually need to fight. This one on the left-hand side, this guy will give you one of the last abilities we'll be picking up, which is the plasma. And then just take these guys out. And if you destroy the block over here, you can grab a few 1-ups and health upgrade. Then we just have to go down one floor and go to the right. And switch to something a little more useful than that. Pull out the sword. And we just have to have one quick fight here with Bonkers. And I think that should take us out to the boss. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure we're close to the boss. Now, given that the level is very similar to the Halibird ones, it's not going to come as any surprise that we're fighting Heavy Lobster again. He's not any more difficult than the first time we fought him. In fact, he's actually a little easier because we don't have to go through that whole intro with his stage again where he can kill you if you get behind the screen with that auto-scrolling section. And we have basically every weapon in the game here, so it's going to be pretty easy. I really took my time with fighting him. You should be able to beat this guy really without getting hit. As long as you know what his patterns are, he's very easy to beat. And you're not timed. It's another advantage, actually. I forgot. They timed me during that Meta Knight's Revenge game. Nevertheless, he is down and out, and we will be taking on the final planet for Milkyway Wishes, which is coming up next. I find it helps a lot to freeze these enemies, and then you can use the ice cubes as a way to prevent the other enemies from sneaking up on you, because the wind is going to really be annoying and difficult to deal with getting through here. So just take your time, and I know I've been saying that a lot, but it really helps here. And just try to basically get the enemies out of your way as quickly as you can. There's only 2 weapons left to pick up, which I believe are the ninja and the mirror abilities. We'll be collecting them both in this planet. Got a little minecart section here with the Kirby constellation again. You want to go about halfway through here, and then at the bottom of the screen you're going to see a block. When you see the block, that's a sign that you want to get out of the cart and push down. And I just grabbed that health right there. So we see where the block is, so we're going to push down right about now. We need to take the block out. So we'll use the bombs here to do that. And then go in this door, and we can collect the mirror ability. The mirror is a pretty useful weapon. It comes in handy every once in a while. And we just use this minecart to go through the rest of the stage. So we've got too many bosses here, and the potato head guy will go down very, very fast to the mirror ability. In this part, it's actually pretty easy to get blown into these enemies, so this is another point where you really want to take your time progressing through here. it helps to have a weapon like the hammer, which is, you know, more short range, because you're probably going to be fighting a little bit more on the short range side. And then the final item will be down in here. We just picked up the ninja ability, or rather our partner did, so we now have it anyway. It's called Biospark if it's a partner. I'm not really sure why though. I do kind of like how the animated drawing of Kirby looks very similar to the partner. His animation at the bottom, you know, it's very similar to Kirby's. I think that's kind of a nice little touch. This is a very nice looking game aesthetically. You know, I really appreciate the detail that the program designers put into the game. I think that's probably why it's the best looking Kirby game up until about maybe 2002 even. When Nightmare in Dreamland came out, I think it was around that time. And then for this part, we're just going to be fighting the second level boss from the Great Cave Offensive. If it's a different variation on that one, it's a slightly harder boss, but the witch is now back again, and we're going to have to take the witch out. Again, that's not very difficult because you can just block all the attacks and you know when they're coming, so this is a pretty easy boss. When I first played this when I was a kid, this is actually a pretty difficult boss for me, but I generally don't get hit anymore fighting these guys. I actually did get hit by his ice spell there. The Evil Knight is a little bit more difficult than the Witch, but not much. And then the Dragon, which we'll be fighting next. Again, it's a little harder than the Knight, a little more HP, but still not a very difficult fight as long as you block. He doesn't have any moves that can actually do any damage to you when you're blocking. I actually do wish that Kirby Super Star, in addition to being a little bit longer, may have also been a little bit more difficult, because the game is actually really easy, and it's a good game for a beginner gamer to pick up, but it's kind of easy once you master it. You don't really ever find it very challenging again. I will say it's probably the easiest game that I've done an LP for up to this point. Alright guys, so we've now completed all the planets, and in the next part we will be moving on to the final part of Milkyway Wishes. I want to thank you guys so much for watching my LP, and I will see you next time. This is Josh Dragon signing out.